of course they didn't. So really that is the tool. So what I'm doing, I'm coming round to this tool which is multi-purpose. Now at the beginning of this conversation, you talked about Cheryl's case. It's in the family court, so I can't talk about what went in court. However, duress of circumstances mean I've got to. See what general purpose defence is? It's not an open court, that's the point. It's not an open court, but I'm saving life and limb, aren't I? By speaking on camera. Okay? And what I'm going to tell you is this. The judge have had 2 cases brought to their attention, and this has altered the way the case is being dealt with. And you remember I said at the beginning of this, the police have known about these for years and used it themselves, but you, the public, haven't had the benefit of it. Who was at 100 Wells Court on Friday? Anybody there? There we are. There. When I came out, I don't know if you heard me say this. There was people were giving me thumbs up and saying well done, weren't they? I'm modest, obviously. And what I said was, you, the taxpayer, have paid me for 30 years to learn how to do what I just did in your defence. Okay. And what I'm doing is now passing it on. That's what I said, isn't it? You heard me say that. You agree? Yeah. So the reason I'm able to do it is because I've got the gift of the gab. You probably gather that. It's genetic. It's not my fault. My mother can do it, and my eldest daughter can do it. And I've had various relatives that can, and it's just one of those things. Some people have got the gift of the gab, so I don't claim any credit for it. I've got to do it. Okay. So this is what I'm going to tell you. The 2 cases relate to when a person is in risk, what responsibilities does the state have, and they relate to duress. Now the first one is what responsibilities does the state have? Now there are many cases that we'll be aware of, and I wasn't until I met Brian, until I went to the first British Constitution Group meeting, where the state seizes children and gives them to bad people, either the original abuser or others. And the mothers find out about it, and then they have a problem, don't they? And they can't get them back. And the court system doesn't back them up. Now, you asked the question about the status of the family court. Well, it's not a lawful court, is the bottom line, because a lawful court is public. It's one of the elements, isn't it? Yeah. It's known as a star chamber, so I'll tell you what a star chamber is. Westminster Hall, where high-profile trials were held, has a room on the side. It's about this size, and it's got stars painted on the ceiling, and that's the only significance. So star chamber. And the Stuart Kings had a system of sorting out political opponents. The Stuart Kings appoint their cronies to be judges. They have people who upset them arrested. There's no evidence called. It's done in secret. The people arrested are not told what the charges against them are, but strange enough, they're all found guilty.
That sounds very much like a European arrest warrant.
Indeed, the European arrest warrant, yes indeed. Yeah, Constantinople. And they suffered various punishments, nose slitting and ears cut off, and some were executed and that sort of thing. It's a bad business. And in 1640, till round 1 of the Civil War, it was forbidden. So star chambers were forbidden. And of course, time's gone on, and what do we have now? We have a court where it's in secret. No evidence need to be provided. When I say no evidence need to be provided, what we've discovered is that there's an industry of psychologists who write reports on people without seeing them. And of course that's hearsay, isn't it?
Yeah, hearsay should not be admissible.
That's right. But it is.
In this country that it's happening?
Well, I suspect it's elsewhere. Well, in the continent. I'm not an expert on corpus juris, but I can only say for here. But it's certainly out of order, and it's not just in relation to children. There are I think of other examples where so-called expert witnesses that don't even see the person they write a report on. And of course, that's a danger to us all, isn't it? There's a thing called the Fixated Threat Assessment Centre. Yeah. Okay. Somebody rings about, oh, you're fixated. Yeah.
We've got leaflets on it.
Yes, that's right.
The Home Secretary about it.
Yes, well, you're on the list, sorry. I told you so, to get carried on. No, that's right, yeah. I'm proud of it. Yes, that's right, yeah. So that's what we're talking about. So now, as it happens, it's the Osman case, and it's about 6 or 8 years old now. Osman is a Somali refugee. He's a boy, about 12. He goes to an English school, and the teacher gets a homosexual crush on him, strange enough, and gets sacked, but stalks the boy, follows him around. And there are various incidents. Eventually, the teacher leaps out from behind some bushes and stabs the boy to death in front of his father. So the father goes to the European Court. Now, I've got no time for the European Court except for this. When the European Court is being debated in Parliament, the Act of Parliament that signed us up to the Human Rights Act, Hansard is available. We can all go and read it. And I can tell you that in 1988, Viscount Wilberforce, who's a judge, commenting on the European Court of Human Rights and the European Convention on Human Rights, reminded the House of Lords what it was all about. And he was arguing that it wasn't necessary, we don't need the Human Rights Act. And what he said was, the history of this is Europe had a civil war, which is World War II effectively, all fight amongst themselves, and we had to sort them out, and eventually the Act's got to be late, not the Canadians, they were here on time. No, yeah, to the room, sorry. And eventually we sorted them out, and come 1950, we sent some of our best lawyers across to Europe to give them the benefits of the common law, and tell them how they should order their things. And of course, the benefits of the common law, the presumption of innocence, yeah, and so on. So Viscount Wilberforce goes for this: presumption of innocence, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, trial for a specific offence in the public court with witnesses who can be cross-examined, and a decision by a jury. And that's what British representatives, British lawyers, tried to persuade the Continentals to do in 1950. I'll give you the reference if you're looking it up. And of course, the Continentals didn't really, because it's not their way, is it? Won't have that. They have corpus juris. But the fact that Viscount Wilberforce actually spoke up means that to correctly interpret the Human Rights Act, it retains all those common law rights, because the person he asked the question of had to agree with him. He couldn't do anything else. He was in front of witnesses. So whenever the Human Rights Act is invoked, it doesn't repeal or infringe the common law rights that I've just listed, because Viscount Wilberforce spoken up. So it's not as bad as it sounds in actual fact. That's my take on the Human Rights Act.
Tell the sharing there.
Yeah, got to change the tape.
What happened to this character that killed the king?
So a judgment comes back from Europe. Now, about the same time, you want to change it first? No, I'll do it again.
It's a bit slow.
So is this film going to be on YouTube or somewhere in town?
Wherever. My head's above the parapet. I'm not fast.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
sending
Yeah.
Colonel to put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
To go back to when you talked
We'll
about
have
the war,
DVDs of it
there's
as
quite a
well.
bit of crime on that side of the war, but they didn't have enough policemen to...
Well, my father told me about that. When we had foreign troops in London, there was lots of the Poles were particularly bad. Apparently, yeah, I'm told. They formed gangs and sort of did gang rapes and all that.
No.
Right, the camera's running. So there's another case, and it's called United Kingdom versus Hurst, spelled with an I. A bit like the axe murderer I spoke of earlier. And what happened was, Mr. Hurst lived on a rough estate somewhere. He stood up for himself and challenged local youths in their bad behaviour, and suffered the penalty, broken windows and what have you. And it culminated in being stabbed to death on his own doorstep. It's 1998. The Human Rights Act hasn't quite come in. There's an inquest. Now, the traditional English inquest, or common law inquest, looks at the way how a person died. And it looks at it in physical terms. The knife went in there, came out the back, and that was it. It doesn't look in the circumstances. The continental system is somewhat different. Mr. Hurst's family goes to Europe, and they come back with a judgment. We, the United Kingdom, should be taking the continental method up, which is where you look at the surrounding events leading up to a death. And this has been a problem for the powers that be, hasn't it? Soldiers killed in Afghanistan for lack of equipment. Certain government scientists that are found in woods, that sort of thing. It's really been a problem to them. Taken together, those two cases, Osman and Hurst, mean that police have to take threats to human life a lot more seriously than they did. Traditionally, a policeman would say, well, ring 999, we're right there. If there's anybody available, obviously. You've all been there, haven't you? And we'll hide around the corner until it's safe, isn't it? But now, certainly in the Met, if a threat to human life is made apparent to any policeman, he has to record it, report it, and pass it up the food chain. So an inspector has to be notified forthwith. He has to make a risk assessment and come up with a plan. And the plan might be posting a policeman outside the house. It might be giving crime prevention advice, giving a alarm